Magandang buhay! Ngayon, ang pag-aaralan natin ay tungkol sa parabola, one of the conics. Pagtutuunan lang natin sa topic na parabola with vertex at the origin. Simulan na natin. So, nandito ang standard equation of a parabola. We have axis of symmetry is along the y-axis. Paano natin malalaman na ang axis of symmetry is along the y-axis? Ang clue lang dyan ay yung may squared. Okay? Pag ang may squared ang x, the axis of symmetry is along the y-axis. Kasi this is a function sa general math nung napag-aralan ang relation and function, kung ang x ang may squared at yung y may exponent na 1, so that's a function. Therefore, dito madali lang ninyo matandaan. Pag ang may square ay x, the axis of symmetry is on the y-axis. Okay? Bakit ito opens upward? Opens upward ito if P is positive, meaning the sign of 4P is positive. Pero pag negative yan, opens downward. Remember, ang tinitake up natin ay vertex at the origin. Ito yung illustration. So this is the graph. This is the axis of symmetry on the y-axis. The vertex is always at the origin. Tandaan ha? Pag ang axis of symmetry is along the y-axis, ang may square niyan ay ang x. Okay? Ay ang x. Okay. So we have also x squared equals negative 4py. Itong negative for emphasis lang po ito na ang graph niya ay opens downward. Okay? Opens downward. So this is the graph. Still, the vertex is at the origin. Since the origin at opens downward, so talaga ang P ay negative. How about kung ang may square ay y? Okay, ang axis of symmetry niya ay yung x-axis. Okay? When the axis of symmetry is along the x-axis, meaning the graph opens sideward to the right or to the left, so ang may square niyan ay yung y. We have here the formula, y squared equals 4px. Still, that's in a standard form of a parabola whose graph is open to the right. The vertex also at the origin. So this is the illustration. Ito yung graph, opens to the right. Remember, ang focus niya laging nasa loob ng graph at yung directrix niya ay nasa labas. It's aligned, okay? Perpendicular to the axis of symmetry. Okay, so yung opens to the left naman, so I have here y squared equals negative 4px. Meaning, so negative na ang sign niya. Still, yung y ang may square. Pag y ang may square, it's not a function. That is why the graph is sideward. Yun lang tatandaan nyo ha. The graph is sideward, meaning ang may square ay y. Okay, opens the left, meaning negative yung sign ng x. Pag negative sign ang nasa right side or sign ng x, then opens to the left. This is the graph. Okay? So, nandito ang vertex. Dapat ang vertex ay nasa origin. Nasa origin ang vertex. Ano? This is only for emphasis. Okay? This is only for emphasis. Okay? When P is less than 0. Okay. So, the vertex is at the origin. P is less than 0, meaning negative. Okay. We will have a general equation of a parabola. So, when the axis of symmetry is along the y-axis or yung may square ay yung x, ito lang po ang general form of the parabola x squared plus ey equals 0. Sinunod lang natin yung second degree form, yung ax squared plus bxy plus cy squared plus dx plus ey equals 0. Since this is y, so e yung coefficient niya. E is a constant number. When the axis of symmetry along the x-axis or sideward yung graph, ang tatandaan nyo lang, ang may square niyan ay y. So it's easy to determine the graph, the position of the graph. Pag ang may square ay x, up or down. Pag ang may square ay y, sideward, to the right or to the left. Paano naman malalaman kung up or down? Okay? Pag nilipat itong EY to the right side, it became negative, so down ang graph. Pag nilipat itong EY to the right side, pero positive ang sign, upward. Same here sa letter B. Pag nilipat itong dx to the other side, naging negative, to the left ang graph. Pag nilipat itong dx to the right side, at ang sign niya ay positive, it means to the right ang graph. It's easy to take note. Tama? Very good. Take note that this general equation is with the vertex at the origin, ha? Ang pinag-uusapan natin ay ang vertex ay nasa origin. Okay. I'll give you an example. But before the example, we have here the forms that you should remember. Okay. So standard equation, then we have some of the characteristics of the focus, the directrix, the endpoint of the latus rectum, the axis of symmetry, and the opening of the graph. First, when the standard equation is x squared equals 4py, ang focus niyan ay may coordinate na 0p. Ang directrix, equation of the directrix is y equals negative p. Okay? And point of the latus rectum, so we have the coordinates positive, negative 2p, p, and axis of symmetry, x equals 0, and opening of the graph is upward. How about kung downward? It's only the sign. The sign of the right side is negative. Okay? Itong sign, it's the representation of the opening of the graph, downward. So negative p has y coordinate and 0, that's the focus. Y equals p, that's the directrix. The endpoint of the latus rectum, so we have the same, positive, negative 2p, while the y coordinate, it became negative p. Kasi po, ano na siya, going down. So, dapat kasama na yung negative. Still, the axis of symmetry is x equals 0. Remember, it's an equation, kaya x equals 0. Because it's a line. Okay? It's a line. How about kung to the right ang graph? Okay, so we have the standard equation, y squared equals 4px, and the focus has a coordinate of p0. The directrix, ano yung directrix? It's also a line. So we have x equals negative p. The endpoints of the latus rectum, we have coordinate p, then positive, negative 2p. Bakit may 2p? Because it's half, the length of the latus rectum is 4p. So to the right or to the left, up or down, so nahati siya ng axis of symmetry into 2. Okay, equal part. That is why we have here 2p. The axis of symmetry, we have y equals 0. It's an equation. And the opening is to the right. How about kung to the left? It's only the sign. Negative 4px equals y squared. And the focus, we have coordinate negative p0. The directrix, we have x equals p. The endpoint of the latus rectum, we have coordinates negative p plus minus 2p, and the axis of symmetry with the equation y equals 0. And the opening of the graph is to the left. Proceed na tayo sa example. Okay? Suppose the given equation of a parabola is in general form y squared plus 12x equals 0. Determine the following. The length of LR, opening of the graph, focal distance represented by P, the vertex HK, standard form of the equation, the focus, it's a point, and the endpoints of the Latus Rectum. Okay. Our solution number 1 or method 1 is using the formula, using the characteristic of the parts of the parabola. But before that, ang step 1 natin ay always change the general form of the equation to standard form. That is why your first step is to write the given equation. Ito yung general form kanina. Y squared plus 12x equals 0. And we are going to change this to standard form. Okay? Okay, paglipat nito ng standard form, ililipat natin yung 12x to the left at to the right, it became negative. Ayan. This is the standard form of the parabola. Y squared equals negative 12x. Iyo na ini, this is already the answer. Ito na yung sagot. This is already in standard form. Y squared equals negative 12x. Okay. Kung na-recall nyo yung definition natin ng parabola, or kanina, nang diniscuss ko, kung ang may square ay y, ang opening ng parabola ay sideward. Since the sign of 12 is negative, it means to the left. Yan ang clue ha. The sign ng term ng nasa right side, pag negative, okay, it's to the left ang opening. Okay. And the length of the LR, whatever the coefficient ng nasa right side. That's already the length of the LR. You disregard the sign because when you say length, it's an absolute value. Okay. Now, this is using the formula ang method natin. So, ang gagawin nyo lang, i-substitute nyo lang yung value based from the table. Okay. So, take note, we solve first the value of P. Nakukuha ang P sa coefficient ng X ng nasa right side. So, therefore, remember, the length of the latus rectum is 12 and represented by 4p. Okay. So, para makuha natin ang p, so we have 12 equals 4p. Length of the latus rectum represented by LR is 12. We substitute natin 12 equals 4p. To solve for p, you just divide it by 4. 4p divide 4 is p. 12 divide 4 is 3. So therefore, that's the value of P. Or simply, i-divide mo lang yung coefficient ng nasa right side by 4. 12 divide 4 is 3. That's the focal length. At yan na ang focus natin. And then, kunin mo na lang yung formula. Kasi formula ang solution natin. Okay? Ito yung formula na kukunin natin when the graph is sideward. Okay? Our focal distance P is 3. Okay, we have P equals 3. The opening of the graph is to the left. Why to the left? Because of the negative ng 12x. Yan ang reference. Negative 12x meaning to the left. Bakit to the left? Because yung may square ay y. Hindi siya function. Pag hindi siya function, tandaan nyo lang, pag ang may square ay y, hindi siya function. And our topic is the vertex at the origin. It's always 0, 0. And the focus is since to the left, so meaning ang P ay negative. No, tandaan ha. Ang P ay negative. So therefore, P ay negative. So we have coordinate negative 3, 0. Okay? Negative 3, 0. And how about the endpoints of the latus rectum represented by negative P for the x coordinate, and for the y coordinate, we have plus minus 2P. We just substitute. RP is 3 times negative is negative 3. Negative 3. RP is 3 times 2 is 6. It's 6 or negatives and negative 6. So these are the endpoints of the latus rectum. And of course, our axis of symmetry is y equals 0 because our vertex is at the origin. And the directrix is the opposite. Since the focus is to the left, meaning our directrix is nasa right. So x equals p, which is x equals 3. Very good. That's the answer. Using method 1, you just substitute the value to the given formula doon sa table. We have another method. Okay? Ang method natin is applying technique. Okay. I-apply daw natin dito sa pangalawang example. How to apply the technique without substituting to the formula in the table. We have here the given. The given equation of the parabola in general form is x squared plus 48y equal 0. You are going to determine the standard form, the length of LR, the opening of the graph, the focal distance represented by P, the vertex, the focus, it's a point, and the endpoints of LR. Okay, tingnan natin. Let's proceed. Of course, ang first step nyo is to write the equation. Remember, method 2 na ang in-apply natin, applying techniques. Okay? Kanina, sa example 1, method 1, applying or substituting to the formula based from the table. Ngayon, halimbawa wala kayong formula. We just apply technique. This is another method. Tingnan natin. Ang first step nyo is to write the given equation. This is the given equation, x squared plus 48y equals 0. Para mapabilis kayo ay sulat mo muna ang standard form ng equation. To write the standard form, ililipat lang itong walang square to the other side. So 48y positive, when you transpose to the other side, it became negative. And that's already the equation. X squared equals negative 48y. So that's the standard form of the parabola. Ito na ang sagot. The next is, makukuha mo na ang length of the latus rectum. Whatever the coefficient of y na nasa right side, disregard mo lang yung sign, that's already the length of the latus rectum. Take note, x squared equals negative 48y is already in a standard form. Okay? Tingnan natin. Nandito. The length of LR, halimbawa hindi mo siya nilipat to the right. Okay, ang titingnan nyo lang ay kung ano yung may square. That's your reference of the variable of the second degree. Sabi dito, variable of the second degree term, which is x, that's your reference. Ang kukunan mo ng LR, yung walang square na variable. Ang walang square na variable, itong y. Whatever the coefficient, get the absolute value, and that's the length of LR. Okay? Coefficient of the opposite variable, which is y. Okay? Pag sinabing opposite variable, referring to the second degree term na variable. Okay? Tandaan nyo lang, pagkuha ng length of LR, tingnan nyo lang yung may square. Yung walang square, yun ang reference mo ng LR. Ang coefficient nun, yun ang length of LR, which is 48. 8 units. O, yun lang. Madali. Pag nakuha mo na ang length ng LR, makukuha mo na ang P. Okay? Take note, it's always positive. Makukuha mo na ang P and the opening of the graph. O here, sa PowerPoint ko, ang next ay opening of the graph. Ano naman ang technique ng pagkuha ng opening of the graph? Tingnan nyo lang ang may square na variable x. Meaning, it's either upward or downward. Okay? Pag ang may square ay x, it's either upward or downward. Tingnan ang sign ng katabing term. This is positive. When you transpose to the other side, it became negative. Kaya nandito ang clue, opposite sign is negative. Itong opposite sign na negative, yan ang ma-determine sa opening of the graph. It means the graph is downward. Yun lang, madali. Kung ayaw mo yan, ilipat mo sa kabila. It's easy. It became negative and downward. How about for the focal distance? Ang reference natin yung LR. Okay, same. Itong LR na 48. I-divide mo lang po sa 4. Ha? I-divide lang po itong 48 sa 4. We have 48 divide 4 is 12. That's the length of the focal distance. Now, take note, ang P natin ay negative 12. Itong negative, that's referring to the direction. Referring to the direction of the graph. Okay. Another, how about the vertex? Ang vertex natin ay at 0, 0 kung walang kapartner yung may square na term na ang exponent ng variable ay first degree. Extern na square ay 2. Okay? So, that's always. Or, you apply derivative. The derivative of 2x is 2x. Then, equate this to 0. 2x equals 0. Solve for x. So, you divide it by x. By 2, both sides. 2x divide 2 is 1x. 0 divide 2 is 0. Itong x equals 0, that's already the h value. Or another technique is, kung walang ibang partner yung variable na x, meaning wala na dyang ibang may variable x, ang may square lang yung x, walang term na halimbawa 48x, meaning the h coordinate of the vertex is 0. Same sa kabila. Kung walang constant term, meaning the variable k is also 0. Or, substitute itong 0 to the original equation. So, substitute natin dito sa x squared plus 48y and solve for y. Yun ang technique. So, magiging 0 squared plus 48y equals 0. Then, 0 squared is 0. So, meaning 48y equals 0. Solve for y, divide both sides by 48. So, y equals 0. That is why k is equal to 0. Or another technique, ang vertex natin ha ay 0, 0. I said, another technique niyan, kung walang constant term dyan, at yung square ay nag-iisang variable lang na x or y, wala siyang kapartner. Halimbawa, kung ang may square ay x, pag wala siyang term na may another x, meaning it's always 0, 0. So, yun lang. Okay, proceed tayo. How about for the focus? Ito na yung sinasabi ko kanina. Focus is a point. It's easy. You just divide 48. Ito. Yan ang reference natin. H equals 0. So, ang focus natin ay itong 48. 48 divide 4 is 12. And that's negative. Okay? Kasi pag nilipat natin to the other side, it became negative. That is why we have negative 12. That's our focus. Sabi dito, the p-value and the direction, we have p equals 12, negative 12, divide 4, and that's the answer. How about for the endpoint of the latus rectum? The endpoint of the latus rectum is 0, negative 12. This is the focus. Okay? Reference natin ng endpoint of the latus rectum is the value of the focus, which is 0, negative 12. Okay, then the p-value, we have 12. So anong gagawin mo? You just multiply it by 2. 12 times 2 is 24. Okay? Kukopyahin lang nandito. Kita ninyo? So 12 times 2 is negative 24. This is plus or minus. That is why 24. And then negative p. So we have negative 12, negative 12. These are the two endpoints of the latus rectum. Okay, so that's all about parabola when the vertex at the origin.